We are continuing on into Aliens Hive issue 2. And I love the ominous cover here where we see Norbert and Max on Hiveworld with just the blue ball and the little trail of sand. It really encompasses this issue very well. And I love it. I miss beautiful covers like this. So Aliens Hive, art by Kelley Jones, story by Jerry Prosser, letters by Clem Robins, colors by Les Dorscheid, I believe it's, or Dorscheid, I think is how you pronounce it. Print date was March 1992. So recap real quick. Last issue, we meet our two main characters. They want to go to the Hive World to get the biggest heist of Queen Mother Royal Jelly so that they could finally become rich and live their dreams. And as for Stan Mayakovsky, as much of time he has left. What do you want to know about that? Make sure to pause this video, go check out the first issue that we did, or read the novelization, which I believe is called Harvest, or get collected trades by supporting your local comic shops. So pause this, go get them, and come back. And you're back. So right here, we see we're in space, and there's this broken up ship, and we see anything left? Dolomite's log, captain's entry. Following the launch of the mission platform, I've decided to examine some of the debris we noticed in orbit. Under close scrutiny, we've discovered the remains of a ship. 2 men have gone on board to look for one of the ship's black boxes. I hope to find out what happened and if it will affect our mission. So again, this is sort of a subplot that is happening within the main plot. So in storytelling, you would call that the B plot, and the main plot is the A plot. So as they grab it, Captain Hoban says, "Get that thing back here on the double. I want to know what happened to that ship." In Jones's artwork, I love the use of, it's supposed to be star space, obviously, but when you look at it, you can very much see where they were inspired by that old school Silver Age, early Bronze Age Kirby crackle. It just adds that level of intensity. And then we come into Captain Hoban on the ship of the Dolomite, and that use of the shadow type. For what I do, it's called shadow photography, where they'll use something with shapes or whatnot, and then they cast light on it. But it just kind of has that very dreadful feel about it. And then we cut into the escape pod that has landed on the Hive World. Gil, how much longer? Flight deck is completing final preparations now. I have green lights on communications and tracking systems. Stan, I want to go over some last minute details, I'm sure. You look at the size of that thing. The hive is almost 1,000 meters high. Pretty impressive on a planet where the highest natural occurring peak is only 350 meters. You never know what else might be down there. And then when she hears the dog, she goes, "What do you want?" "Sorry, no time. Maybe you can get Norbert to play with you before you leave." And so just this kind of sad look of Max, a lot of foreshadowing going on right there. And then for me, after reading all 4 issues already, the one character that I find the most interesting is Gil. He's the onboard, the onboard android of the crew. She's like, "What do you think of all this?" "Why do you ask?" "Well, I guess you have a unique perspective. I'd ask Norbert, but he doesn't have verbal programming as sophisticated as yours. Besides, he gives me the creeps. I feel like any other member of the crew. I have a job. I do it." And then I like this quiet moment, and it kind of harkens to later on. It says, "May I see your hands? Don't you find human endeavor like this mission interesting?" "Not particularly. I find most humans quite boring." And then as she sees his hands, she goes, "They look so much like my father's hands. I'd better go get Stan. I hope we have the chance to talk some more." She goes, "Sometimes I think it'd be better to be a synthetic, able to reprogram myself with a new chip or biological circuit. Do you ever think you're missing something by not being human, I mean?" "Not that I'm aware of." So just kind of keep that in mind, that the way that they interact with one another. And so then we cut to the B plot so that we don't get strained by the A plot. It says, "This is Captain Potter of the Lancet. You are guilty of criminal trespass. You won't live to regret your decision. And so we're watching the black box at this point. And all of a sudden, computer offline. And so he says, I'm guessing that they're still somewhere in the sector. That kind of builds up the tension of what's going on the surface, as well for their possible escape routes. And I love how we don't get a whole lot about Captain Potter other than his face just shrouded. That very, like in the old westerns where, you know, the good guy wore the white hat, the bad guy wore the black hat. But in this case, he's not wearing a black hat. His face is just perpetually shadowed like a black mask, like a villain. And it just adds that extra. Now it says, she enters the soft light of the room. By the look on his face, you can tell he's outside of time, a solitary immortal made of wax. She muses on the value of an eternity consisting only of solipsisms and memory. How much time do they have left? And so I remember Stan takes the Xenozip to help alleviate the symptoms of his cancer that has basically riddled his body. And when Julie, I had to think about her name, came to him initially saying that she wanted to do this heist, she wanted a business partner, but they fell in love. She goes, Stan, what are you dreaming about? Am I with you? He wakes up, he's like, what? So she asks, what are you thinking about? Or, you know, I got that wrong. We kind of get a see of what he's thinking about. Home in Central Park, reading the children at the library, making love with Julie, Norbert's first steps. These are things that Julie is musing about what he could possibly be dreaming about. And he says, I was dreaming of you. We were, I'd rather have your travels be secret. That way you're so much more mysterious. And he says, Julie, I'd like to ask you a favor. Yes? If you're making any of this up for my benefit, please don't stop. And now I like the reoccurring theme of the Xenozip vial, as we see Artie, I believe is this name, that android robot that was the predecessor to Norbert. And I just kind of like how it's sort of the silent witness to everything that is going on. And so they find that all the aliens on the surface are face down in the dirt. There, look at the size of it. Looks like a cow skeleton brought from Earth for the aliens' use, I assume. What's that in quadrant B? Magnify. Zzz. Yes, you're getting sound effects, by the way. And so Norbert comes and goes, it appears to be sleeping or unconscious. And then we see Max get excited, and he looks down, and we see a ship with all these aliens knocked out in front of it. Woof, woof. Yeah, Tony, it's a dog. Come here, Pooch. What are you down here? Where's your master? Tony, one of them's awake. And I just love the look of just immediacy in this guy's face. This is old school artwork that I miss, where you just feel that over exaggeration. Instead of trying to make it 100% like a human emotion, we get an over exaggeration, just like old stage plays. And that's why a lot of old trained actors do that for that over emotive, because that's what they had to rely on. And we see it here in Jones's artwork, enhanced, of course, by the coloring. Now, if we remember, Norbert will only attack if provoked. Well, these guys don't know that Norbert is an android, so the guy just starts shooting and tears apart this landing party. But it's all for naught, as they find out that this lander ship has a motherload of royal jelly. Looks like the beekeepers have been here before us. Let's just get somebody down there to plot the whole thing. We'll both go back to the Dolomite. Now, to kind of elaborate, that lander ship had this emitter that was putting the aliens to sleep. Something happened. Read the book for more clarification. But suffice it to say, the aliens are awake. Now, for me, normally when we read the alien books, like we've gone over Earthward, we've gone over Genocide, and in those, you know, you have characters that start out as real. Not all of them. Like we love Hicks, we love Newt, we love Ripley, but particularly in genocide. We thought that Grant was a slumlord. You know, we just thought he was a piece of trash. But as we go to the end of the book, he learns and he grows, just like a hero's journey. And Alexandra Lee, the general, we liked her to a degree, but she was a hard ass. But we see how both of them kind of grow with the friendship. Or if you read the novelization, they actually kind of begin to fall in love with one another, which is really interesting. But nonetheless, here, this is the spot of the book. For me personally, let me know what you guys think. But this is the part of the book where I stopped liking our characters. And I don't, at this point, did not care what happened to any of them. Why do I say that? Ingenious. And he's talking about the transmitter that the Lancet's using. They used it the same way a beekeeper uses smokes. I wish I would have thought of it. We might as well test the rest of the equipment. Take Mac outside. And so he opens the door and he pushes the little button. Sorry, boy. And you see this relationship that Norbert, this android, is building with this dog. And then we cut to parts of the Cyber Antics book that Mayakovsky wrote. Ari could not see far into the forest of grass that reached high into the sky. She activated her sense of smell, and a whole new world presented itself. A world filled with subtle variation. The complex structure based upon the molecule chemistry rather than the sound or light. She tested the air for signs of pheromones left by the other ants. There it was, a trail. Ari followed the trail until she reached the nest of ants. She stood and watched them for some time. They moved in and out of the hive with such determination and precision. What a commotion. Ants came into the clearing, carrying food. Others rushed to assist them with their burdens. And we see Stan smiling because he realizes that Norbert's programming and the thing around Max's neck is working. But what I like here is how Poser, how do you say his name? Proser, takes parts of Stan's novel and applies it here because it's the same concept. And it says, Ari could hear the incessant clinking of the young ants. Food, food, food. She followed the sound to proceed with the next phase of her program. The center of life in the hive. The queen. There's the grand old lady herself. XL1 advance and activate recognition program. Ari understood that her next action was to enter the nest. As she moved closer, a guard approached her. It did not recognize her scent and took a defensive posture. Who are you? Asked the guard. Ari continued to advance, sure in the knowledge that she would be able to deal with the circumstances. Her programming was sound and her alloy chassis could withstand a great deal of punishment. But unfortunately, it didn't work. Now, what I hate and what kind of led Norbert into coming into the hive, what I was talking about a moment ago, is Stan says to deactivate Max's collar and take him into the hive as an offering. And you can kind of guess because Norbert realizes that his pheromones and everything else he's doing is not working because they're testing each other, just like the text from Ari's book. Wait for it. Shit, go, get out of there. All systems online, defend Moan Alpha. So Norbert has to escape, of course, leaving Max behind. And that's the part that just made me lose all respect for my characters and just did not care what happens to them. But in the end, they try to load up what royal jelly they can. But the Lancet interjects. And they end up crash landed on Hiveworld. So now they have no means of escape. So guys, a lot happens in Alien Hive issue 2. Do I not care about the main characters anymore? No. Is it an interesting read? Nonetheless, hell yeah. A lot better than the Marvel Alien comics that we have been going over lately. So if you've enjoyed what you've seen, please first and foremost support your local comic shop or wherever they get your action figures and comics, and either pick up the series or the novelization, which you can always check out your local library as well. And if you've enjoyed this review, really would appreciate if you take a moment to like, share, and subscribe. Helps the channel more than you could possibly know. And if you don't mind hitting that fancy little Hive bell, Next, subscribe. That was your to upload content. You guys get notified. Come to the channel, and I love talking with y'all and hearing your thoughts and feedback down in the comments below. And if you enjoy what I do and you want to support the channel, I've left a PayPal link down in the description. And if not, I still appreciate you watching this video. Either way, thank you so much for stopping by. Hope you all continue to have an absolutely amazing day reading, and happy hunting, everyone.